I guess they say he's the guy that I have to introduce. I realize you're only here because it's so cool in here and it's hot outside. I do appreciate your all being here. There are other things you can do on Labor Day weekend. They tell me, I don't know, I seem to wind up doing UFO things. The town appreciates your coming out. I appreciate it. Mutual UFO Network appreciates it. And we're dealing with a subject today that's, to some people, it's taboo. You know, you can't talk about flying saucers because everybody knows it's baloney. Those people need to go to the delicatessen. We come here for solid information. We're waiting for somebody. Tim Pinot. Oh. Okay. He's got to make an entrance. What are you going to say? Let me do a little survey here. And I know I should do this only after I lecture, but I know you're all interested enough to put up with it. How many people here believe they've had what I might consider to be a flying saucer? I haven't defined anything yet, but I think you know where I stand. So I just want to do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. At least 60 people here. Oh, more than that upstairs. How many of you reported what you saw? A very small handful. You begin to understand that one of the problems in this field is that there's a huge amount of data that those of us with a serious interest in the subject never get access to. It's because of the fear of ridicule. Hope that works. And part of the goal here is to get rid of some of the silly objections made by smart people. That's the theme of this new book by Kathleen Marden, who's here, Betty Hill's niece. And I'll put in a plug. She did most of the work on our book, Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience, a New Hampshire case, of course. But it's not only in UFOs that we have a problem with smart people saying stupid things that keep important things from being done. You ready? I'm just wasting time here waiting for you.
I don't want to take any more stage time away from this guy than he already deserves and needs. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's an all-time great. To call him a living legend would be an understatement. I mean, he's just, when I think about it, the word Roswell's synonymous with UFOs and synonymous with this enigma that we're all here to talk about and around the world. And really, largely, almost entirely responsible is this guy for introducing it to the lexicon of the global culture. And if you stop and think about that, that is pretty amazing stuff. So, as I said, I don't want to take up any more of your time, so give the people what they want. Ladies and gentlemen, Stanton Friedman.
Just a very brief introduction. I have bachelor's and master's in physics from the University of Chicago. I spent 14 years in industry working on classified programs, little companies, GE, GM, Westinghouse. Can't hold the job, obviously. Set a record for working on canceled government-sponsored research and development programs. Well, it's a dubious record, and I didn't set out to do that. I've lectured at more than 600 colleges in all 50 states, 9 provinces, and 16 other countries. You've probably seen me on a lot of shows, not knowing who I was really, but you keep seeing that same face on the air. One of the reasons is they can run the programs and pay you the same thing they paid you the first time, which is nothing. You don't get paid for most TV shows, to say the least. Okay, now, I'm here because I have a strong interest in New Hampshire and because I live only 400 miles away in Fredericton, New Brunswick. They figured they could afford me, you know. Gas isn't that expensive. And I invite everybody to come visit New Brunswick, beautiful New Brunswick. I've only lived there 30 years, but it's home. Now, the topic, as you can see from what's up there, it's impossible, isn't it? That was the original title for the book. But the publisher has the right to change the title. So it became Science Was Wrong. And there's an inside joke there. I think it's because they published the American version of Eric von Daniken's latest book, History is Wrong. I think they want to have a whole series of wrong books, I guess. Now, the theme here is not that science is all bad. I'm a scientist, I couldn't possibly say that. But progress in a number of different areas of science has been slowed down considerably by the fact that very smart people said some very stupid things. And because of their high station, funding was hard to get in those areas and so forth. And I'm going to try to blend that basic notion. And this book has 14 chapters. Kathy and I each did 7. Only 2 are about UFOs. She did one on abductions, I did one on the general thing of UFOs and the stupid things smart people have said that weren't true. But there's an underlying theme. And one of the problems with public acceptance of UFOs, the 3 groups that you think would lead you to the truth, science, journalism, and the government, have all been very active in keeping you from getting at the truth for different reasons. Science because of arrogance, science because of ignorance, because of attitudes that say, if that were true, this applies to the journalists too, it would be important, but if it were to be important, I would know about it, because I keep track of what's important, and I don't, so it must not be, and I'm not going to waste my time on something that can't possibly exist. Circular reasoning, they call it. The government has its own motivations, and we'll talk about those. And I happen to agree not everything should be put out on the table. One of my favorite cartoons appeared in the St. John, New Brunswick newspaper. They had an article and I was inducted into the Roswell UFO Hall of Fame. It's always nice to be recognized by your peers. Notice the 2 little guys. This was America's most prominent astronomer of the 19th century, a guy named Dr. Simon Newcomb, from Nova Scotia, as a matter of fact. And he was so important that when he died, the President of the United States attended his funeral. That's what a big name he was. Now, here's what he said. And I think most of you today will realize how wrong it is. The demonstration that no possible combination of known substances, known forms of machinery, and known forms of force can be united in a practical machine by which man shall fly long distances through the air seems to this writer as complete as it is possible for the demonstration of any physical fact to be. That was 2 months before the Wright brothers' first flight. But you can imagine how difficult it was to get funded for research on flight when our top astronomer, now why astronomers should know anything about flight, I don't know. Maybe you ought to go to an ornithologist. He knows something about flight, you know, a bird specialist. But notice that word "know"